Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and this video is a very special one. Some weeks ago I was asked by Claire to do her and Aaron a ghost story, so that is what I am going to do. And this is a very special ghost story, especially dedicated to Claire and Aaron, and it is the ghosts of Hanbury Hall in Bromsgrove, my local town. The picture you saw just is a picture of Hanbury Hall, which, as you can see, is a red brick building which was built in the style of Sir Christopher Wren in 1701. It was the home of the Vernon family from the 15th century until the 20th century, and it is a very English house. Reverend Richard Vernon was born in 1549, and he was the son of Ralph Vernon. He became the rector of the hall in 1580, and when he died in 1627, he left the hall to his eldest son, Edward, who married Eleanor Chattel, and they had 3 sons, Richard, William and George. The eminent lawyer Sir Thomas Vernon, who inherited the hall upon his father's death, built the present house in around 1700. It was he who built the family's fortunes and was for many years MP for Worcester. In 1679, Sir Thomas married a Mary Keck. However, unfortunately, they did not have any children, resulting in the hall being left to Mary's cousin, Bowater Vernon, after Sir Thomas's death in 1721. Thomas Vernon was born in 1724, and he was the son of Bowater and Jane Vernon. He married Emma Cornwall, and they had 1 daughter, also named Emma. Thomas died in 1771, and Hanbury Hall was inherited by his daughter Emma, who was born in around 1755. After Emma inherited Hanbury, her mother set about arranging a suitable match for her, and the chosen man was a Henry Cecil, heir to the earldom of Exeter, and the marriage, which began on the 23rd of May 1776, was to prove to be a very unhappy one. As the marriage floundered, Emma sought consolation in the company of the local curate, a William Sneyd, and after only 3 years of marriage, she eloped with him to Portugal. Henry was left to face not only their creditors, but also the ridicule of their neighbours. On the 10th of June 1791, Henry and Emma finally divorced, and Emma married William, while Henry remarried to a farmer's daughter called Sarah Hoggins, and inherited the title of Marquis of Exeter. Sadly, William Sneyd died of consumption in Portugal in 1793, and Emma was forced to return to England, homeless and penniless. She turned to John Phillips, a local solicitor, to sort out her affairs, and he married her after a well-reigned relationship in 1795. When Emma lay dying in 1818, she sent for someone who'd once been her maid and asked her to make sure that she was buried wrapped in the blanket in which she had nursed her dying curate, her greatest love, William. Emma was buried in this blanket in unconsecrated ground at her request on the outskirts of Hanbury churchyard, which she is said to haunt. Emma's ghost is a very well-known ghost in the area, and she has been seen by many people wandering around the hall and grounds. There have been many numbers of reported sightings, especially along Church Avenue, and it is believed that this was the route that Emma used in life to walk from the hall to the church to see her beloved William. One evening, a woman was driving home after visiting her brother, and her route took her along the B4090 through Hanbury Woods, where she suddenly saw a young woman dressed in black standing still at the side of the road. Concerned that it may not be safe for this young girl to be walking along, and alone on such a deserted road, she stopped to offer her a lift. However, the girl had vanished. In 1982, a bell ringer was locking up Hanbury Church one night, and just as he left the church, he saw, by the light of the moon, a white figure come up the path towards the church and disappear through the door, which he had just locked. During the early 1980s, Mark Hardman, the then licensee of the Country Girl, claimed that it was the most haunted inn in the country. Up until about 1982, the Country Girl had been a cottage in a row of 5, and for a few years before 1965, the licensee was a retired school teacher. However, when his son turned 18, the licence was handed over to his son, Mark, who would then often hear footsteps climbing the stairs each night and walk towards his bedroom. On one occasion, a cook was getting ready when she heard a creaking noise behind her and 4 plates shot out of the wall cabinet without breaking. Another member of staff was tidying outside one day when the pub sign fell for no apparent reason and nearly hit her. There used to be a small pool outside the rear of this pub, and in 1983 a young man was waiting for his girlfriend to finish work at the Country Girl, and as he sat there in his car and waited, he saw a white, misty shape rise slowly out of the water. Scared witless, the poor man shot out of his car and ran into the pub, where he had to sit for 20 minutes until he had calmed down. During the 1980s, the Country Girl was often packed with people who hoped to catch a glimpse of the ghost of Emma. After Emma's death, the hall was left to a distant cousin called Thomas Shorey Vernon. Sir Harry Foley Vernon, the penultimate member of the Vernon family to own Hanbury Hall, after inheriting it in 1859 following the death of his brother, died in 1920 at the age of 86, leaving the hall to his eldest son, Bowater George. And when he died in 1940, he left instructions that he should be buried in Shrawley Woods with his gun and without a religious ceremony. I'm gonna make you suffer. This how you... It is said that Sir George shot himself in the Blue Bedroom, and it is known that he was suffering from health at the time of his death. Occasionally, Sir George makes an appearance at the hall, and he was last seen in the Blue Bedroom in 2003 by a member of staff. After Sir George's death, the Hanbury Hall was bequeathed to the National Trust, with the provision that Sir George's wife, Doris, was to live there, which she did so until her own death in 1962. Since then, the hall has remained the property of the National Trust, and it is open to the public, which means, yes, you can indeed visit this place. However, I would probably be more inclined to visit the area around the hall, especially the B4090 and indeed Hanbury Church. That is, if, like Claire and Aaron, to visit this haunted area of mine in my little town of Bromsgrove. And that is the Ghosts of Hanbury Hall. I do hope you've enjoyed it. I enjoyed reading it out to you. I was managed to find this. It was I slapped it on one of my old car forums that I used to go on, and it was still there. So I was like, awesome, take advantage, slap it up. There you go, Claire, kept my promise. I know it took a while, but I did it in the end. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, let me know by leaving comments down below, or at least rate it. And that's it. I am now going to go. So do take care until I see you again.